In this lesson, we are going to talk about probability and odds. So we want to understand and interpret odds and relate them to probability. So we want to figure out how probability and odds differ, but also how they relate to each other. So odds express a level of confidence about the occurrence of an event. So if we're talking about probability in favor of something, it means how many times it does happen out of the total number of times. And the probability against something happening means how many times it does not happen out of the total number of times. So notice that in probability, we have the total in the denominator for both of them. When we're talking about odds in favor, it's how many times something does happen compared to how many times it does not happen. And the odds against means how many times it does not happen compared to how many times it does happen. So notice in odds that we don't have the total for any of them. So if we look at this example, a team wins 2 out of 5 games. So we can interpret this using probability and odds. So if we're talking about probability, the probability of winning will be 2 out of 5. And 5 is the total. So there are 2 chances of winning out of a possible 5 games. We can say that the probability of not winning, so the probability of losing, will be 3 out of 5. So if the team wins 2 games, that means that they lose 3 games out of the 5 games played. So again, we have the total. When we're talking about odds in favor of winning, that means that we're going to compare the wins to the losses. So if they win 2 times, that means they do not win 3 times. If we're talking about the odds against winning, this is comparing the losses to the wins. So if they lose 3 times, then they will win 2 times. So again, notice that the total is not in the odds. So the total number of games of 5 is not in the odds. But if we add up the wins and the losses in both of them, we will get to the total of 5. The Dairy Queen Chill hockey team is raising money by raffling a number of donated items. You buy 25 tickets, and they sold 300 tickets. So what is the probability that you will win? So for the probability, we want the total number of chances you have of winning. So that's the 25 because you bought 25 tickets. Out of the total amount of tickets sold, which is 300. If we put this into lowest terms, you will have a 1 out of 12 chance of winning. What is the probability that you will not win? So if there are 300 tickets sold and you bought 25 of them, that means you could win 25 times, but that you will not win 275 times. So if we took the 300 and subtracted the 25 tickets you bought, that means that somebody else is going to win those 275 times out of the total number of tickets, which is 300. So again, we could put this into lowest terms. Divide by 25, and you will have an 11 out of 12 chance of not winning. So what are the odds in favor that you will win? So in favor means that we're doing wins to losses. So how many chances do you have of winning? Well, you have 25 tickets, so you have 25 chances of winning. How many chances do you have of not winning or of losing? That would be 275. So notice that there are 300 tickets sold, but 300 is not in the odds. But if we added up the wins with the losses, you would get to 300. What are the odds against you winning? So against means we compare losses to wins. So we're going to use the same numbers as the question above. We're just going to switch the order. So how many times could you lose? You could lose 275 times. How many times could you win? You could win 25 times. So again, notice that the total number is not there. The total number of 300 is not part of the odds. The odds in favor of the volleyball team winning provincials is 4-3. So we want to interpret what this means. So this means that in total, there were 7 provincials, because there are 4 wins and 3 losses. So in 7 provincials, so this means that in 7 provincials, the teams will win 4 times and will lose 3 times. So determine the odds against the volleyball team winning provincials. So the odds in favor show this is the wins to the losses. So if we're determining the odds against, we want to compare the losses to the wins. So we're just going to reverse what was shown in the question. So there are 3 chances of losing, compared to 4 chances of winning. So 3-4. Determine the probability that the volleyball team will win provincials. So now that we're talking about probability, we want the total number of provincials played. So when we're talking about the probability of winning provincials, how many times are they going to win? They're going to win 4 times. Out of how many total provincials were there? So there were 7 provincials. So 4 out of 7 provincials, they will win. Determine the probability that the volleyball team will not win provincials. So that means how many times will they lose? So they will lose 3 times out of a total of 7 provincials. The Carlton volleyball team has beat St. Mary's in the last 8 of 14 games. What are the odds against Carlton winning the next game? So odds against means we want losses compared to wins. So we know that Carlton has won 8 times. So if the team has 8 wins out of the last 14 games, that means that they will have 6 losses. So when we're talking about the odds against, we're comparing the losses to the wins. So they will have 6 losses compared to 8 wins. What is the probability that Carlton wins the next game? So how many wins have they had in total? They've had 8 wins out of the total number of games. So 8 out of 14. If we put this into lowest terms, divide by 2, that will be 4 out of 7. What is the probability that Carlton does not win the next game? So that means how many times are they going to lose, or the probability that they're going to lose. So they have 6 losses in total out of a possible 14 games that were played. And if we put this in those terms, we will get 3 out of 7. So remember that probability, we want to see the fraction, and the denominator is the total number of games played. For the odds, we just want a comparison, so we don't want the fraction, and we don't see the total. So for this last question, what are the odds in favor of Carlton winning the next game? So in favor means wins compared to losses. So how many times have they won? They have won 8 times compared to the number of losses, which is 6. So the odds in favor of Carlton winning are 8 to 6.